Next step now, I've turned that mess of wires that was on a series of breadboards to a mess of wires that's on one perf board, and this is actually 3 parts all on one. So the first part here is actually the 5-volt converter. So we have power that comes in from the Roomba and is dropped down to 5 volts. And the reason for it being 5 volts is obviously the Arduino doesn't work on anything higher than that. Now the other thing is that we have the wireless transceiver, and that doesn't work on anything higher than 3.3 volts, which is a bit of a pain. So not only do we have the voltage regulator to go from around 16 volts from the Roomba to the Arduino, we also need to convert that 5 volts into 3.3 volts, and luckily I have all the components to be able to do that. So what we have now is a shield effectively that will go on top of the Arduino. So we have 3 sets of pins. The first set is for power and the serial communication from the Arduino. The second set of pins is to control the data going to the wireless transceiver. And then, mainly because I forgot to wire up another pin, I have one pin that goes to the device detect pin on the Roomba, and that's kind of important when it comes to doing the communication. So what we have is that this just slots in on top, and this is much more compact. I can build a small case for this that it'll fit quite nicely. And then we have the Roomba connector here that just plugs in like that. Now the way I have the sketch written, there is a red LED that shows that there's power going to the wireless transceiver. That works fine. And then any wireless communication that's happening through the wireless transceiver, I'm flashing the green LED. So right now we have the wireless transceiver. This shield here, the Arduino, is sending packets out, and this is just a test sketch for the moment, just to prove that everything's working. So this is testing that it can receive, or it can send out a signal that something's going to receive. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop the video very quickly and set up the receiving Arduino so that you can see that packets are coming back from this shield. But this sits quite nicely on top of the Roomba, and there's only one set of wires that's actually going into the socket, so that makes it a lot tidier. So let me set up the receiver and I'll show you the next steps. So I've wired up another transceiver. This is the repurposed transceiver from the clock project, and the only reason why I reuse this is because it's all wired up and I know that it's working. And to prove it's working, we have the serial monitor showing the data that's being output from the transceiver. Now the sketch that's running on this transceiver is just there to pick up packets from this shield here, and it's going to display them to the serial monitor. So what we're going to do is just plug this in, if we can get it working. Okay, that's plugged in, and we have the red LED showing that there's power to the transceiver. You should be able to see the green LED is flashing. And on the serial monitor now, I'm alternating between an A and a Z, or a Z depending on which country you're in, and we're receiving that quite happily and displaying it to the screen. So what I know now is that this shield is getting powered properly, it's able to transmit okay. In reality it's actually only ever going to receive, but we know that the transceiver is working because that test works, and it's now compact, can sit on the Roomba, and we can now use the remote control that I just showed you in the previous videos. We know that the remote control commands to the Roomba work, providing there's enough power. Next step is to get that all tested, to rewrite the code slightly so that I put it into a different mode. Hopefully I can get it to respond to presses of at least the power button, which means that it should be able to turn off if it runs away and it can't get enough signal. That's the next step.